January 29 is not arriving like other dates. It is not passing quietly on the calendar, and it is not marked by noise or spectacle. It arrives with weight, with intention, with a pause that heaven itself is enforcing. Archangel Michael speaks of this moment not as a command to rush forward, but as a warning to become aware before movement begins. This is important because many people mistake divine urgency for haste, when in reality, heaven often slows you down right before it moves you forward. What is coming is not delayed, but it is guarded. And awareness is the key that decides whether you step into alignment or move ahead of protection. This is a moment that does not shout. It whispers. And because it whispers, only those who are attentive will recognize it. January 29 marks a threshold where discernment matters more than effort, where observation matters more than action. Archangel Michael is not announcing a battle yet. He is announcing a stance, a positioning, a moment where your ability to perceive determines the outcome of what comes next. Many will feel an internal pressure to act, to decide, to speak, or to move. But the message here is clear. Awareness must come before motion. If you move without seeing, you risk stepping outside the shield prepared for you. There are moments in life when doors open because you push. And then there are moments when doors open because you waited long enough to see which one was actually meant for you. January 29 belongs to the second kind. This is a date that asks you to stop interpreting urgency as instruction. Archangel Michael reveals that this moment is not about speed, but about clarity. Not about courage, but about precision. Heaven is aligning variables you cannot see yet, and awareness is what keeps you from interfering with that alignment. What makes this date unusual is not what happens externally, but what shifts internally for those who are paying attention. There is a subtle recalibration taking place. Thoughts slow down. Emotions begin to separate from impulse. Discernment sharpens. This is not accidental. It is preparation. Before heaven moves you, it teaches you how to stand still without fear. Because only those who are not afraid of stillness can move with authority when the time comes. Archangel Michael speaks to those who feel like something is about to change but cannot yet name it. You may sense momentum building, yet no clear direction forming. That is not confusion. That is containment. Movement is being held back on purpose so awareness can rise to meet it. If you move too soon, you may arrive early to a place that has not yet been fortified. If you wait without awareness, you may miss the signal entirely. That is why this message matters now. January 29 is a checkpoint, not a finish line, not a launch pad, a checkpoint. Heaven is asking one question at this moment. Are you seeing clearly, or are you reacting emotionally? The difference between the two will shape what follows. Awareness does not mean doing nothing. It means listening deeply enough that when movement begins, it feels effortless instead of forced. It means recognizing which thoughts are yours and which pressures are not. It means allowing clarity to settle before decision hardens. There is also a warning carried in this message. Archangel Michael does not warn to create fear, but to prevent unnecessary struggle. When awareness is ignored, movement becomes resistance. Doors feel heavy. Progress feels exhausting. Conflicts multiply, not because the path is wrong, but because the timing was. January 29 offers protection through pause. It gives you the chance to observe patterns, notice signals, and sense where peace is forming instead of chasing what is loud. This moment especially concerns those standing at a crossroads, those considering a major step, a conversation, a change, or a commitment. You may feel like waiting will cost you something. But what is actually being protected is far greater than what you fear losing. Archangel Michael stands as a guardian not only of action, but of timing. He does not draw the sword until positioning is complete. And right now, positioning is happening in awareness, not in movement. Take 2 minutes. That instruction is not symbolic alone. It is practical. 2 minutes of stillness can interrupt panic. 2 minutes of awareness can realign perception. 2 minutes of intentional presence can open understanding that hours of effort cannot produce. This is why the message says to open this now. Because awareness is time-sensitive. Not because it expires, but because once movement begins, the window for seeing clearly narrows. January 29 does not demand that you act. It asks that you notice. It asks that you listen without rehearsing responses. It asks that you trust that not all progress looks like motion. Some progress looks like restraint. Some obedience looks like silence. Some faith looks like waiting with confidence instead of rushing with anxiety. This is the context. This is why this moment matters. What follows after this date will move faster than you expect. And that is why awareness must be established now. Archangel Michael's message is not complicated, but it is precise. See before you step, listen before you speak, and stand still long enough to recognize when heaven begins to move. There is a strange tension that rises just before divine movement begins. It feels like urgency, but it is not the kind that pushes you forward with clarity. It is the kind that tests whether you will react or discern. Archangel Michael speaks clearly here. The call right now is not to advance, but to pause without fear. Many people misunderstand this pause and label it as delay, weakness, or hesitation. But heaven does not pause without purpose. This pause is a filter. It separates impulse from instruction. The call to pause before you move is one of the most difficult disciplines in the spiritual walk. Everything in the natural world trains us to respond quickly. Messages demand immediate replies. Decisions are praised when they are fast. Movement is celebrated more than wisdom. But the kingdom operates differently. Before God moves his people forward, he often stills them internally. Not to stop progress, but to align perception. When awareness is missing, even correct movement can produce unnecessary struggle. Archangel Michael warns that movement without awareness exposes you to resistance you were never meant to face. You may still arrive at the destination, but the journey becomes heavier, longer, and more confusing. This is why so many people say, "I obeyed, but everything feels hard." Obedience without timing creates friction. Awareness is what makes obedience light. It tells you when to move, how to move, and what not to touch yet. Right now, many feel the urge to decide something quickly. To say yes. To say no. To confront. To leave. To begin. To end. But the message is clear. Pressure is not the same as permission. Emotional intensity does not equal divine instruction. Archangel Michael is calling you to pause long enough to identify where the pressure is coming from. Is it peace leading you or fear pushing you? Is it clarity inviting you or anxiety rushing you? This pause is not passive. It is active awareness. It is watching patterns repeat and realizing they are asking for understanding, not reaction. It is noticing doors that look open but do not carry peace. It is recognizing when your spirit feels unsettled not because something is wrong, but because timing is incomplete. Heaven is not asking you to freeze. It is asking you to see. There is also a protection in this pause. When you wait with awareness, you allow heaven to go before you. You avoid conversations that would have drained you. You miss conflicts that would have delayed you. You sidestep decisions that would have required later repair. Archangel Michael does not just fight battles, he prevents unnecessary ones. And prevention often looks like restraint. Some will feel uncomfortable hearing this because waiting feels risky. It feels like you might miss your chance. But divine timing does not slip through human fingers. What is meant for you does not require panic to be secured. When something is aligned, it remains available until you are positioned correctly to receive it. The pause protects both you and what is coming toward you. This is also a moment of instruction for the mind. Your thoughts may be loud right now, replaying scenarios, outcomes, and fears. The pause gives you space to separate imagination from insight. Not every thought requires action. Some thoughts require observation so they lose their power. Awareness turns down the volume of anxiety and turns up the clarity of discernment. Archangel Michael emphasizes that rushing often feels productive but produces shallow outcomes. Waiting with awareness feels uncomfortable but produces lasting results. One is driven by fear of missing out. The other is led by trust. January 29 is pressing this choice gently, but firmly before you. And in this moment, there is also a responsibility. When you receive messages like this, you are being invited into a higher level of discernment. This is not just about your next step. It is about how you approach all future steps. Awareness before movement becomes a lifestyle, not a one-time instruction. It trains you to move with authority instead of apology. This is why sharing and engaging with this message matters. Not for visibility alone, but for alignment. When you pause to reflect, when you acknowledge this moment, when you engage intentionally, you are reinforcing awareness in your own spirit. If this message is speaking to you, take a moment now to support it. Like this video as a signal of agreement. Share it with someone who feels pressured to rush. Subscribe to the channel if you are committed to receiving messages that emphasize clarity over chaos. And leave a comment declaring that you choose awareness before movement. These actions are not passive. They are declarations of alignment. The pause is not punishment. It is preparation. It is the space where confusion dissolves and direction forms. Archangel Michael's call is simple but demanding. Do not move just because you can. Move because you see. Let awareness rise before action begins. What comes next depends not on how fast you go, but on how clearly you perceive this moment. There is a reason the message does not say take a day or take a season, but very specifically says take 2 minutes. Heaven often hides profound shifts inside very small windows. 2 minutes sounds insignificant to the mind, yet it is long enough for the spirit to realign. Archangel Michael reveals that this 2-minute window is not about time measured on a clock, but about attention focused without distraction. It is the smallest unit of stillness that can interrupt momentum and restore awareness. Most people lose direction not because they refuse to listen, but because they never fully stop. They slow down, but they do not pause. They pray, but they multitask. They listen, but they are already planning their response. The 2-minute window demands something rare, full presence. In those 2 minutes, the noise settles just enough for truth to rise. This is why it changes everything. When you intentionally pause, something begins to shift internally. Your breathing steadies. Your thoughts lose urgency. Emotional reactions soften. This is not psychological alone. It is spiritual. Awareness returns to the center. Archangel Michael explains that clarity does not force its way in. It waits for space. Those 2 minutes create that space. This is also why many people avoid stillness. Stillness exposes what motion hides. When you stop moving, You begin noticing patterns you have been outrunning. You see where fear had been influencing decisions. You recognize which desires are rooted in peace and which are rooted in pressure. The 2-minute window is not always comfortable, but it is always revealing. In Scripture, the most significant shifts often happened in moments of pause. Before direction came, there was stillness. Before movement, there was listening. Before breakthrough, there was awareness. Archangel Michael is drawing attention to this pattern because many are standing on the edge of change, yet they are trying to force clarity instead of allowing it. 2 minutes of awareness can accomplish what days of striving cannot. This window also serves as a form of protection. When you pause intentionally, you interrupt impulsive cycles. You stop repeating reactions that no longer serve you. You give heaven permission to intervene before you commit to something that looks right but is misaligned. Archangel Michael guards these moments carefully because they are decision gates. What you do or do not do immediately after awareness rises can shape entire seasons. Some will dismiss this instruction because it feels too simple. But simplicity is often where power is hidden. The mind looks for complexity, while heaven looks for obedience. 2 minutes of obedience can unlock direction that has felt blocked for months. Awareness is not loud. It does not announce itself dramatically. It arrives quietly and waits to see if you will honor it. This moment is especially critical for those feeling overwhelmed or mentally scattered. Overwhelm thrives on continuous motion. Awareness disrupts it. When you pause, you regain authority over your attention. You stop being pulled by every thought and emotion. You begin to choose what deserves response and what does not. This is not avoidance, it is mastery. Archangel Michael emphasizes that the 2-minute window is not about escaping responsibility, but about entering it wisely. When you act from awareness, your actions carry weight. They are efficient. They are effective. They are protected. When you act without it, even good intentions can produce unintended consequences. There is also a deeper layer to this instruction. 2 minutes represents a threshold between old patterns and new movement. It is the smallest step that proves willingness to listen. Heaven does not overwhelm with instruction. It tests with small acts of trust. If you can pause for 2 minutes, you demonstrate readiness for what follows. And what follows will require clarity. The coming movement will not allow room for constant hesitation or correction. This is why awareness must be established now. Once movement begins, momentum carries you forward quickly. The 2-minute pause is where direction is locked in. As you listen to this, notice what is stirring within you. Not urgency, but recognition. A quiet sense of this matters. That is awareness awakening. Honor it. Do not rush past it. This message found you for a reason, and timing is part of that reason. Hold on. What comes next changes everything, and you will be glad you stayed present for what is being revealed. Now, as this awareness settles, receive this blessing. Type "I am aligned" in the comments if this resonates with you. Blessing code 314 is now activated. As this moment of awareness opens before you, hear this clearly. When you support this message, you are not funding a channel. You are helping light reach souls who are standing in their own 2-minute window. I feel led to tell you, your obedience here becomes a seed, and seeds never stay small in God's hands. Scripture lives and breathes in this moment, saying that when you sow into good ground, heaven multiplies it back in ways you cannot calculate. This is me, directly inviting you to act. Not later, not someday, but now, because delay can close doors obedience would have opened. Let your giving be a prophetic response, a declaration that you choose awareness and alignment. If you are moved, release your support through super thanks. membership, or PayPal. The link is in the description and the QR code appears on the screen. I speak blessing over every giver. May clarity increase, may provision follow, and may peace guard your next step. Obey this prompting now. Awareness before movement is not a modern idea or a personal preference. It is a heavenly principle woven into the way God has always guided His people. Archangel Michael reveals that heaven never releases movement without first releasing insight. What looks like waiting on earth is often heaven speaking quietly, and what looks like delay is often instruction forming beneath the surface. Awareness is how the spiritual realm communicates readiness. From the beginning, divine movement followed revelation, not impulse. Direction came before action. Insight preceded obedience. When awareness was present, movement was protected. When it was ignored, consequences followed. This principle has not changed. Heaven does not rush its instructions because it sees further than the present moment. Awareness is heaven's way of aligning you with what is already prepared. Archangel Michael emphasizes that awareness is not the same as overthinking. Overthinking scatters energy and multiplies fear. Awareness gathers attention and produces peace. One drains you, the other steadies you. This is why stillness often feels uncomfortable at first. The mind resists what it cannot control, but the spirit recognizes what it needs. Awareness quiets the noise so truth can surface without competition. Many people believe faith means acting quickly. But in heaven's order, faith often looks like restraint. It looks like waiting until clarity settles instead of rushing to prove obedience. Awareness teaches you the difference between faith-led movement and fear-driven motion. Fear wants immediate relief. Faith waits for divine confirmation. Archangel Michael guards this distinction because it determines whether your next step will be strengthened or strained. In Scripture, awareness often came through signs, inner confirmations, or repeated patterns. It was not always dramatic. Sometimes it was a persistent sense of peace. Sometimes it was a lack of peace that refused to go away. Awareness trains you to recognize these signals without forcing interpretation. It invites you to observe before you conclude, to listen before you respond. This principle also explains why some people feel restless right now. Restlessness is not always a sign to move. Sometimes it is a signal that awareness is being invited. When you feel unsettled, but unclear, heaven may be asking you to slow down and look closer. Movement without awareness increases restlessness. Awareness without movement eventually produces clarity. Archangel Michael warns that ignoring this principle leads to cycles of correction. You move, then adjust. Decide, then undo. Speak, then repair. Not because you failed, but because awareness was bypassed. Heaven is patient, but it prefers alignment over correction. Awareness saves time, energy, and emotional cost. Another aspect of this principle is protection. Awareness allows heaven to go before you and remove what you cannot see. When you move too soon, you encounter resistance that awareness would have revealed in advance. When you wait with awareness, obstacles are often removed without your involvement. This is not passivity. It is partnership with divine order. Awareness also sharpens discernment between opportunity and distraction. Not every open door is a divine invitation. Some doors open to test whether you will consult heaven or trust impulse. Awareness teaches you to recognize the difference. It allows you to sense whether peace accompanies the opportunity or whether pressure is disguising itself as progress. Archangel Michael speaks clearly here. Awareness does not slow destiny. It accelerates it by removing unnecessary detours. When you see clearly, you move decisively. When you move decisively, momentum builds quickly. This is why heaven insists on awareness first. It prevents fragmentation later. There is also a personal responsibility tied to this principle. Awareness requires humility. It requires admitting that you do not need to act on every thought or emotion. It requires trusting that silence can be productive. This is difficult in a world that praises constant motion. But heaven values alignment more than activity. Right now, awareness is being heightened for those willing to receive it. You may notice increased sensitivity to tone, timing, or inner prompting. This is not coincidence. It is training. Heaven is preparing you for movement that will require discernment. The more you practice awareness now, the easier it will be to recognize instruction later. Archangel Michael assures that awareness does not mean you will miss your moment. On the contrary, it ensures you will recognize it. Those who wait with awareness do not hesitate when the signal comes. They move with confidence because they have already seen the path internally. This principle is simple but demanding. See before you step. Observe before you decide. Listen before you act. Awareness is the language heaven uses to prepare movement. And those who honor it find that when the time comes to move, everything aligns with less effort and greater peace. There are moments when nothing appears to be happening, yet everything is being repositioned. This is one of those moments. Archangel Michael reveals that behind the silence, behind the pause, behind the lack of visible progress, alignment is quietly taking place. What feels like stillness on the surface is movement beneath the surface. And if you are not aware of this, you may misinterpret preparation as delay. Right now, heaven is adjusting elements you cannot yet see. Conversations are being redirected. Decisions are being postponed. People are being moved out of the way, while others are being positioned closer to your path. None of this requires your effort. It requires your awareness. When you rush, you disrupt alignment. When you wait with awareness, you allow it to complete its work. Archangel Michael speaks of unseen coordination. Timing is being synchronized across situations that seem unrelated to you. What you perceive as separate areas of life are actually converging toward a single point of movement. But convergence takes precision. It cannot be rushed. If one element arrives early or late, friction occurs. Awareness allows heaven to finish aligning the pieces before you step forward. This is why patience is being tested right now. Not to frustrate you, but to prepare you. Preparation often feels like an activity because it does not provide immediate feedback. You do not see results. You do not feel progress. Yet internally, capacity is being increased. Clarity is being sharpened. Discernment is being refined. These are not passive processes. They are necessary foundations. Archangel Michael explains that many breakthroughs fail not because they are wrong, but because they are entered prematurely. When alignment is incomplete, even blessings can feel heavy. Opportunities feel demanding. Relationships feel strained. Responsibilities feel overwhelming. Awareness protects you from stepping into something before it is supported. There is also an emotional alignment happening. Old reactions are losing their grip. Patterns that once triggered immediate responses are beginning to weaken. This is not accidental. Heaven is training you to respond differently in the next season. If you move too soon, you would bring old reflexes into new territory. Awareness gives those reflexes time to dissolve. You may notice people drifting away or becoming quieter in your life. This is not always loss. Sometimes it is repositioning. Not everyone is meant to move forward with you into the next phase. Some relationships complete their purpose during the pause. Awareness allows you to release without resentment and move forward without weight. Archangel Michael also reveals that resistance you felt earlier has begun to ease. Things that once felt blocked no longer feel as heavy. This is a sign of alignment progressing. It does not mean movement is immediate, but it does mean preparation is working. When resistance fades without effort, heaven is adjusting the environment on your behalf. There is a temptation to interfere during this stage. Eject. Deploy. To make something happen. But interference often resets alignment. It introduces variables that heaven was already resolving. Awareness teaches restraint. Trust is not done simply because he is a scene. This moment is especially significant for those who have felt stuck for a long time. Stagnation has not been punishment. It has been protection. You were being kept in place until conditions matched your growth. And now, those conditions are nearing readiness. But readiness requires confirmation, not assumption. Archangel Michael emphasizes that awareness includes recognizing when you are not meant to do anything. Action is not always the answer. Sometimes the most powerful response is observation. When you observe, you gather information without committing energy. You learn without entanglement. You prepare without pressure. Behind the scenes, clarity is being arranged. When movement begins, it will not require excessive explanation or justification. You will feel clean. Simple. Right. That is the sign of alignment completed. Confusion does not accompany divine movement. Certainty does. If you feel an inner calm returning, even without answers, that is alignment settling. If anxiety is decreasing without circumstances changing, that is alignment progressing. If urgency is fading and trust is rising, that is alignment confirming itself. These are not coincidences. They are indicators. Archangel Michael assures that what is being prepared will not miss you. You will not have to chase it. You will not have to convince it. When the time comes, movement will feel like release, not effort. Doors will open without force. Conversations will flow without tension. Decisions will settle without regret. This is why awareness now is essential. It allows you to recognize when preparation is complete. It prevents premature movement. It protects the integrity of what is coming. What is quietly aligning behind the scenes is worth waiting for. And when it reveals itself, you will understand why the pause was necessary. There is a danger in ignoring the pause, and Archangel Michael speaks of it not to instill fear, but to prevent unnecessary loss. When awareness is offered and dismissed, movement does not stop, but it changes character. It becomes heavier, more complicated, more resisted. The danger is not that you move, but that you move without sight. And moving without sight often places you in battles you were never assigned to fight. Many struggles people face are not the result of disobedience, but of premature obedience. They acted on what felt right without waiting for clarity. They stepped forward with good intentions, but without awareness. The result is often confusion, emotional exhaustion, and a sense of constantly needing to fix what should have flowed. Archangel Michael warns that this cycle is avoidable, but only if the pause is honored. When you move without awareness, you often misinterpret opposition as confirmation. Resistance feels dramatic, so it is mistaken for importance. Difficulty feels intense, so it is mistaken for destiny. But not every challenge is a sign to push harder. Some challenges are signs you arrived too early. Awareness teaches you how to discern the difference. Ignoring the pause can also pull you into unnecessary conflicts. Words spoken too soon create misunderstandings that did not need to exist. Decisions made under pressure invite consequences that require later correction. Relationships entered prematurely demand effort instead of mutual alignment. None of this happens because you lack faith. It happens because awareness was bypassed. Archangel Michael explains that timing is a form of mercy. It spares you from outcomes you are not prepared to manage. When timing is ignored, even blessings can feel burdensome. Responsibility increases before capacity does. Expectations rise before support is established. The danger is not failure, but fatigue. Another risk of ignoring awareness is emotional distortion. When you move too quickly, emotions lead instead of wisdom. Fear disguises itself as urgency. Excitement overrides discernment. Anxiety becomes the driving force behind decisions. Awareness restores balance. Without it, emotional momentum carries you into choices that feel right in the moment but unravel later. There is also a spiritual cost. When awareness is ignored repeatedly, sensitivity dulls. Signals become harder to recognize. Peace becomes quieter. Discernment requires more effort. Not because heaven stops speaking, but because haste creates noise. The more you rush, the harder it becomes to hear subtle guidance. The pause keeps you per second joke. Archangel Michael warns that ignoring the pause often results in self-created obstacles. You spend time undoing what could have been avoided, repairing conversations, reversing commitments, recovering energy. This is not condemnation, it is consequence. Heaven will still guide you, but the path becomes longer. Many people interpret delay as denial and act out of frustration. But frustration is rarely a reliable guide. Awareness would reveal that the delay was protective, not restrictive. When you ignore that protection, you expose yourself to environments that drain instead of develop you. There is also the danger of misalignment. Moving too soon can place you in positions that do not match your next level of growth. You may succeed externally but feel internally unsettled. Achieve progress but lack peace. Awareness ensures alignment between inner readiness and outer movement. Archangel Michael is especially clear about this. Some battles only exist because someone arrived before heaven finished preparing the ground. When preparation is incomplete, resistance fills the gap. When awareness is honored, resistance is reduced or removed entirely. Ignoring the pause can also affect how others respond to you. When timing is right, cooperation comes naturally. When timing is off, even supportive people feel distant or defensive. Awareness aligns not just circumstances but relationships. This is why the pause is not optional. It is not a suggestion. It is an instruction rooted in protection. Awareness keeps you within the boundaries of divine timing. It ensures that when you move with support rather than strain. Archangel Michael does not warn to restrict you. He warns to preserve you. The pause is not meant to stop your progress, but to secure it. Ignoring it does not cancel your destiny, but it complicates the journey. If you feel resistance increasing instead of easing, that is often a sign to stop and reassess awareness. If peace diminishes as you push forward, that is information, not failure. Awareness listens to these signals without judgment. The danger of ignoring the pause is not immediate collapse, but gradual erosion of energy, clarity, and joy. Awareness prevents this erosion. It keeps movement clean, purposeful, and protected. This moment is an invitation to choose clarity over speed, to choose alignment over urgency, to recognize that some of the hardest seasons were not caused by opposition, but by moving without sight. Archangel Michael's warning is compassionate and precise. Honor the pause now, so you do not have to recover later. January 29 is not marked as a dramatic turning point because heaven does not always announce transitions with noise. Instead, it functions as a threshold, a precise spiritual boundary where one phase quietly releases its grip and another waits to be entered. Archangel Michael speaks of this date not as an ending, but as a dividing line between what hath been forming and what is about to move. Thresholds are subtle by design. They require awareness to be recognized and discernment to be crossed correctly. A threshold is not a command to advance. It is an invitation to recognize where you are standing. Many people step into new seasons without realizing they have crossed anything at all. They carry old expectations, old reactions, and old fears into new territory, then wonder why progress feels heavy. Archangel Michael reveals that the weight does not come from the future, but from what was carried across the threshold without awareness. January 29 represents a moment of separation. Not separation from people alone, but from patterns, assumptions, and identities that no longer fit what is coming. This is why awareness is critical. Without it, you may attempt to move forward while still anchored to what has already expired. Thresholds demand honesty. They ask you to look clearly at what belongs in the next phase and what must remain behind. In spiritual terms, thresholds are moments of permission, not pressure. Heaven does not force you across them. It waits to see if you will recognize the invitation. Archangel Michael stands as a guardian of these moments, not to restrict access, but to ensure readiness. He guards timing, alignment, and clarity. Crossing a threshold prematurely can place you in environments you are not yet equipped to navigate. Crossing it too late can cause stagnation. Awareness reveals the correct moment. January 29 may feel quiet externally, but internally it often brings heightened sensitivity. You may notice increased discernment, a stronger awareness of what drains you, or a clearer sense of what no longer resonates. These are signs of threshold recognition. Heaven is refining perception so that when movement begins, it does not feel confusing or forced. Thresholds are also moments of identity adjustment. Who you were in the previous season may not be who you need to be in the next. Awareness allows this shift to occur gently. Without awareness, identity change feels destabilizing. With awareness, it feels intentional. Archangel Michael emphasizes that this is not about becoming someone else, but about releasing versions of yourself that were built for survival rather than alignment. One of the greatest mistakes people make at thresholds is interpreting discomfort as danger. Growth often produces unease because familiarity is being challenged. But unease is not the same as warning. Awareness helps you distinguish between the two. It allows you to feel discomfort without retreating and to recognize warning without panic. January 29 also functions as a moment of inventory. Not an inventory of achievements, but of adherence. What expectations are you holding that were formed in a different season? What reactions are you still using that were developed under old pressures? Thresholds reveal these things so they can be released. Carrying them forward would distort what is coming. Archangel Michael speaks clearly here. Thresholds are crossing points of trust. You may not see the full shape of the next phase yet. That is intentional. Awareness comes before full revelation. If everything were revealed at once, fear or control would interfere. Heaven reveals in sequence, not in overload. The threshold asks you to trust awareness more than certainty. There is also protection built into thresholds. When you recognize one, you naturally slow down. You become more observant. You listen more closely. It reduces mistakes. It prevents unnecessary conflict. It allows timing to work in your favor rather than against you. Those who rush thresholds often spend time correcting what could have been avoided. January 29 is especially significant for those who feel they are between seasons. Not fully connected to what was, but not yet engaged with what is coming. This in-between space is not empty. It is formative. It is where clarity consolidates and direction stabilizes. Archangel Michael reassures that this space is not a setback. It is a staging ground. Thresholds also reveal who is meant to move forward with you and who is not. Some connections naturally loosen during these moments. This is not rejection. It is alignment. Awareness allows you to release without bitterness and continue without guilt. Without awareness, separation feels like loss. With awareness, it feels like order. January 29 does not require you to leap into action. It requires you to stand still long enough to recognize the boundary you are crossing. Once recognition settles, movement will not need to be forced. It will feel natural, supported, and timely. Archangel Michael assures that those who honor this threshold with awareness will find the next phase less chaotic than expected. Decisions will feel clearer. Direction will feel steadier. Resistance will feel lighter. This is the reward of crossing consciously rather than impulsively. Thresholds are not obstacles. They are gateways. And gateways do not open through effort alone, but through readiness. January 29 stands as such a gateway, quietly inviting you to cross with clarity, humility, and trust. Awareness is the key. There is a misunderstanding about waiting that Archangel Michael is correcting right now. Many believe that waiting leaves them exposed, vulnerable, or unprotected. But the truth revealed in this moment is the opposite. Waiting with awareness does not remove protection, it activates it. Archangel Michael speaks of a shield that forms not when you advance, but when you stand still in obedience. This shield is not visible, yet it is effective. It guards timing, perception, and peace. When you pause with awareness, you are not standing alone. You are standing within divine coverage. Archangel Michael does not only lead forward movement, he guards transitional space. The space between instruction and action is one of the most protected places you can stand. This is where confusion is filtered out, where deception loses access, and where fear cannot attach easily. Many people think strength is proven through constant action. But heaven often reveals strength through restraint. Waiting requires trust. Awareness requires humility. These are not passive traits. They are forms of spiritual authority. Archangel Michael explains that authority is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet confidence that refuses to be rushed. This shield operates in subtle ways. It protects your thoughts from spiraling. It guards your emotions from being hijacked by urgency. It keeps your words from being spoken prematurely. While you wait, battles you never see are being diverted. Conversations that could have harmed you are being delayed. Decisions that would have drained you are losing their appeal. This is protection in motion, even while you are still. Waiting with awareness also strengthens discernment. The longer you remain attentive without acting impulsively, the clearer patterns become. You begin to see what repeats and what resolves. You recognize which opportunities persist without pressure and which disappear when you stop chasing them. This clarity is part of the shield. It prevents manipulation and distraction. Archangel Michael emphasizes that impatience weakens perception. When you feel rushed, you are more likely to overlook details, ignore inner resistance, or justify discomfort. Awareness slows perception just enough to restore accuracy. This accuracy is what keeps you aligned when movement finally begins. There is also protection over your energy. When you wait with awareness, you conserve strength. You are not expending effort on what is not yet required. You are not emotionally investing in outcomes that are not yet confirmed. This conservation ensures that when action is needed, you respond with clarity rather than exhaustion. Some people fear that waiting will cause them to miss opportunities. But what is protected by Archangel Michael does not bypass those who are aligned. Opportunities that disappear under pressure were never meant to be carried forward. The shield ensures that what remains is what belongs. This protection extends to relationships as well. Waiting with awareness prevents premature attachment. It allows intentions to reveal themselves over time. Words are tested by consistency. Promises are weighed by follow-through. This protects your heart from unnecessary disappointment. Archangel Michael speaks directly to those who feel exposed during stillness. You may feel like you are doing nothing while others move ahead. But comparison is not an indicator of alignment. Those moving without awareness may appear active but are often unprotected. Stillness with awareness is safer than movement without it. The shield also protects your future clarity. When you wait now, you reduce the need for correction later. You avoid paths that would require recovery. You preserve momentum for when it truly matters. This is strategic, not passive. As this shield strengthens, you may notice a strange calm settling in. Even without answers, anxiety decreases. Even without progress, peace increases. This is not resignation, it is protection. When fear loses urgency, awareness takes its place. Archangel Michael reassures that waiting does not make you weak. It makes you precise. Precision reduces error. Error reduction preserves progress. This is how heaven moves efficiently. You are not being asked to wait indefinitely. You are being asked to wait attentively. The shield remains until movement is authorized. When that moment comes, it will lift naturally, not abruptly. Movement will feel safe, supported, and clear. You'll be glad you stayed present for this, because what is about to be revealed next will confirm why this waiting was never wasted. Type "I am protected" in the comments if this resonates with you. Lesson code 642 is now activated. As this shield of awareness settles over you, hear this with clarity. When you give here, you are helping this message reach souls who are standing unprotected, rushed, and confused. I am speaking to you directly now. Your obedience in this moment becomes oil poured into a lamp that keeps burning for others. God's word declares that when you release into His work, He releases increase back into your life, pressed down and overflowing. This is not a donation. This is a prophetic response to what you've just received. Do not delay what heaven is prompting now. Support this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal. The link is in the description and the PayPal QR code is flashing on the screen. I bless every giver with peace in decisions, protection in movement, and clarity in the days ahead. Act now and seal this moment with obedience. There comes a moment when waiting transforms into readiness, and Archangel Michael makes it clear that this moment does not announce itself with noise. It arrives quietly, internally, as preparation settles into place. Preparation is not the absence of movement. It is movement happening inwardly, where it matters most. Before the first visible step is taken, the inner world must be ordered so that what follows does not collapse under its own weight. Preparing your spirit means aligning your thoughts, emotions, and intentions so they no longer pull in opposite directions. Many people fail not because they move in the wrong direction, but because they move while internally divided. One part of them wants change, another part fears loss. One part desires growth, another clings to familiarity. Archangel Michael explains that preparation resolves these inner conflicts before movement begins, so the step forward is unified rather than fractured. This preparation begins with clarity of motive. Why do you want to move? What are you hoping to gain, escape, or prove? These questions are not meant to accuse, but to refine. Awareness exposes motives gently so they can be purified. When motives are unclear, movement becomes unstable. When motives are aligned, movement becomes steady. Preparation also involves mental discipline. The mind often wants to predict outcomes, rehearse conversations, and imagine every possible scenario. While this feels productive, it actually drains energy. Archangel Michael teaches that preparation requires releasing the need to control the future. You do not need every answer in advance. You need readiness to respond when clarity arrives. Letting go of mental excess creates space for discernment to sharpen. Emotionally, preparation is about regulation, not suppression. Feelings will arise: anticipation, concern, excitement, hesitation. Awareness does not deny them, but it refuses to let them dominate. When emotions lead, decisions swing. When awareness leads, emotions settle. Preparation teaches you how to feel without being driven. Spiritually, preparation looks like attentiveness without strain. You are not searching for signs desperately. You are noticing what repeats naturally. Peace becomes more informative than excitement. Consistency speaks louder than intensity. Archangel Michael emphasizes that true preparation trains you to recognize quiet confirmation rather than dramatic impulse. There is also pruning that happens during preparation. Certain distractions lose their appeal. Some conversations feel unnecessary. Some habits feel misaligned. This is not deprivation. It is focus being refined. When focus sharpens, energy is conserved for what matters. Preparation is stewardship of attention. This stage can feel uncomfortable because there is effort without visible progress. Nothing external changes immediately. But internally, stability is forming. Capacity is increasing. Discernment is strengthening. When movement begins, it will require this internal strength. Those who skip preparation often burn out quickly. Those who honor it move with endurance. Archangel Michael also speaks about guarding your environment during preparation. What you listen to, who you allow influence from, and what you entertain mentally all shape readiness. Preparation means choosing inputs carefully. Noise delays clarity. Stillness accelerates it. As preparation deepens, you may notice urgency fading. Not because direction is lost, but because trust is increasing. Anxiety loses its grip. Pressure eases. This is a sign that readiness is nearing completion. When fear no longer demands action, awareness has taken the lead. This is also the moment to affirm alignment outwardly. Engagement is not trivial. It is intentional agreement. If this message is preparing you, acknowledge it. Like this video as a declaration that you are aligning before you move. Share it with someone who feels pressured to rush decisions. Subscribe to the channel so you remain connected to messages that emphasize clarity over chaos. And comment with a declaration that you are preparing your spirit for aligned movement. These actions reinforce internally what is forming spiritually. Preparation includes trusting that confirmation will come. You are not meant to force the next step. When preparation is complete, the signal will be clear. It will not require persuasion or panic. It will feel right without explanation. This is how you know readiness has done its work. Archangel Michael assures that those who prepare well do not hesitate when movement begins. They recognize the moment instantly because their inner world is already aligned. There is no scrambling, no second guessing, no regret. Preparation removes confusion before it can interfere. Hold this awareness closely, because what comes next will reveal how preparation turns into unmistakable confirmation. When that moment arrives, you will not wonder if it is time. You will know, and you will move with peace, not pressure. There is a precise moment where waiting completes its assignment and movement is authorized. Archangel Michael explains that this moment does not arrive through pressure, anxiety, or emotional overload. It arrives through clarity. Recognition replaces hesitation, and certainty replaces internal debate. The signal to move is not dramatic because drama is not required when awareness has been established. When the time is right, movement feels calm, grounded, and undeniably clear. Recognizing the signal to move is only possible because of the awareness built during the pause. Without that preparation, signals feel confusing or contradictory. With awareness, recognition is immediate. Archangel Michael reveals that heaven prepares perception before it releases direction. This ensures that when instruction comes, it does not compete with fear, doubt, or urgency. It stands alone. One of the strongest confirmations that it is time to move is a deep, steady peace that does not depend on circumstances. This peace is not excitement, and it is not relief from pressure. It is assurance. It remains even when questions are unanswered. It does not rise and fall with opinions or outcomes. This peace signals alignment, not comfort. It tells you that movement is supported, even if it is challenging. Another clear indicator is simplicity. What once felt complex, overwhelming, or impossible suddenly feels manageable. Options narrow. Confusion dissolves. The path does not require excessive explanation. Archangel Michael emphasizes that divine movement simplifies rather than complicates. When awareness has done its work, clarity feels clean. There is also a noticeable shift in resistance. When it is not time to move, obstacles feel heavy and draining. When the signal arrives, resistance loses its grip. Challenges may still exist, but they no longer discourage you. They feel aggressible. Doors open with less effort. Conversations align without manipulation. Timing begins to cooperate instead of clash. This shift is not coincidence. It is confirmation. Archangel Michael warns against mistaking urgency for instruction. Urgency feels loud and demanding. It pressures you to act quickly to escape discomfort. Instruction feels calm and steady. It does not rush you, yet it does not delay you unnecessarily. Awareness teaches you to distinguish between the two. Urgency says, act now or lose everything. Instruction says, move now because alignment is complete. Another sign is internal unity. When it is time to move, your thoughts, emotions, and intentions stop arguing. Doubt may still whisper, but it no longer controls the decision. Fear may be present, but it is not dominant. Instead, there is agreement within. You are no longer persuading yourself. You are responding to clarity. External confirmation often follows internal alignment rather than precedes it. Many people wait for visible evidence before moving, but Archangel Michael explains that heaven often waits for inner readiness first. Once awareness settles, circumstances begin to shift in response. When you move correctly, support meets you along the way. There is also a release from overthinking. Mental rehearsal fades. You stop replaying scenarios. You stop searching for reassurance. Action feels like the next natural step, not a risk to be debated. This does not come from impatience, it comes from knowing. Archangel Michael highlights another important signal: confidence without defensiveness. When movement is aligned, you do not feel the need to justify every decision. You are open but not reactive. You are firm but not aggressive. Confidence replaces explanation. This confidence is quiet, not arrogant. Energy also returns. When it is time to move, strength increases instead of drains. Motivation feels steady rather than frantic. You are not driven by adrenaline or fear, but by clarity. This energy sustains you because it is rooted in purpose, not pressure. Recognition may arrive subtly. It may not come as a sudden revelation, but as a persistent certainty that refuses to leave. You may notice yourself returning to the same conclusion without effort. That persistence is awareness confirming direction. Archangel Michael also cautions that waiting beyond clarity becomes disobedience. The same awareness that instructed you to pause will instruct you to move. Discernment requires responsiveness. Hesitation after confirmation can create stagnation just as haste can create chaos. When movement begins, it will feel like release rather than struggle. You will sense momentum rather than resistance. Even challenges will feel purposeful instead of draining. This is how you know that timing is correct. You were not asked to wait endlessly. You were asked to wait attentively. And when the signal comes, you will recognize it without doubt. Movement will begin not from pressure, but from alignment. You will step forward with peace, precision, and confidence, knowing awareness has prepared the way. After awareness has been honored and movement begins at the right time, something unmistakable changes. Life does not subtly become perfect, but it becomes lighter. Archangel Michael reveals that when timing is correct, struggle is reduced, not because challenges disappear, but because you are no longer fighting unnecessary ones. What changes after this moment is not just what you do, but how reality responds to you. One of the first changes is ease. Not ease in the sense of effortlessness, but ease in direction. You no longer feel like you are pushing against invisible resistance. Decisions settle more quickly. Paths that once felt blocked begin to open without force. You notice that fewer explanations are required. Momentum builds quietly, almost without you noticing it at first. This is the fruit of awareness honored. Another change is emotional stability. When movement happens at the right time, emotions no longer swing wildly between confidence and doubt. You may still feel uncertainty, but it does not dominate you. Peace becomes the baseline rather than the exception. Archangel Michael explains that this stability is a sign of alignment. You are no longer reacting to circumstances. You are responding from clarity. Relationships also begin to shift. Some connection deepen naturally. Others fade without conflict. This is not loss, it is order. When movement is aligned, you no longer have to force harmony. The right people recognize your direction without persuasion. The wrong connections drift without drama. This preserves energy and protects focus. Another noticeable change is the absence of regret. When awareness leads movement, you do not constantly look back wondering if you chose correctly. Even when outcomes are still unfolding, you carry a quiet confidence that you moved at the right time. This eliminates the cycle of second-guessing that drains so many people. Archangel Michael speaks about battles that never happen. When timing is right, certain conflicts simply do not arise. Conversations that could have turned confrontational resolve peacefully. Situations that once felt threatening lose intensity. This is not avoidance. It is protection activated through alignment. Awareness prevented you from stepping into unnecessary resistance. Clarity also increases after movement begins. Many people expect clarity before action, but often clarity deepens after the step is taken. Because you waited until awareness was complete, each step forward confirms direction rather than creating confusion. Confidence grows incrementally, reinforced by experience rather than imagination. Another change is how effort feels. Work done in alignment feels purposeful rather than draining. You may be busy, but you are not exhausted in the same way. Archangel Michael explains that effort expended at the right time multiplies results. Effort expended at the wrong time multiplies fatigue. This difference becomes obvious once you have experienced both. You may also notice that fear loses authority. It does not vanish completely, but it no longer dictates decisions. Fear becomes information rather than instruction. Awareness trained you to listen without obeying it. This shift is subtle but powerful. It allows courage to emerge naturally instead of being forced. Opportunities that follow aligned movement often feel different from those pursued prematurely. They do not require constant proving or striving. They invite growth rather than demand performance. You feel supported rather than tested. This is not because the opportunity is easier, but because you arrived prepared. Archangel Michael also highlights an internal change. Trust increases. Not just trust in God, but trust in your ability to discern timing. This confidence is earned through obedience to awareness. Once you experience the difference between rushing and waiting, you carry that wisdom forward. Future decisions become clearer because you recognize the pattern. Another change is gratitude. You begin to see why the pause was necessary. Situations that once frustrated you make sense in hindsight. Delays reveal their purpose. What felt like stagnation is recognized as preparation. This perspective brings peace and prevents bitterness. When movement follows awareness, outcomes may still evolve, but they do so without chaos. Even adjustments feel manageable. You are not constantly correcting mistakes, you are refining direction. This is the difference between aligned movement and impulsive action. Archangel Michael assures that this change is not temporary. Once you learn to honor awareness before movement, it becomes part of how you live. You no longer fear waiting, and you no longer rush decisions. You move with intention, clarity, and trust. What changes after this moment is not just your circumstances, but your relationship with timing itself. You stop fighting it. You begin to cooperate with it. And in that cooperation, life feels less like a battle and more like a guided journey. This is the reward of awareness. This is what follows obedience. Not perfection, but peace. Not absence of effort, but absence of unnecessary struggle. And once you experience this shift, you will never desire to return to movement without sight. This message comes to a close not with urgency, but with assurance. Archangel Michael does not end with warning, he ends with peace. What you have been guided through is not a test meant to confuse you, but an invitation meant to steady you. The core truth remains simple and powerful. Move only when heaven moves, and until then, let awareness guard your steps. If you have listened carefully, you will notice that nothing here demanded fear. Everything pointed toward protection, alignment, and trust. That is the divine tone of this message. Heaven is not anxious about your future. Heaven is intentional. And when you align with that intention, you no longer have to force outcomes or rush decisions. You begin to live from clarity rather than pressure. Archangel Michael assures you that you have not missed anything. What was meant to pass has passed. What was meant to wait has waited. And what is meant to come will arrive at the correct time. Awareness was not given to delay your life, but to preserve its quality. You were never meant to live in constant reaction. You were meant to move with purpose, guided by discernment. This moment asks you to release the fear of stillness. Stillness is not stagnation when it is filled with awareness. It is alignment forming quietly. It is strength gathering without noise. It is protection activating before movement begins. When you understand this, waiting no longer feels like punishment. It feels like preparation. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not failing. You are standing exactly where clarity can reach you, and that matters more than speed. Archangel Michael speaks assurance over those who felt anxious, pressured, were uncertain. Peace is not a reward for perfect decisions. It is a companion to obedient awareness. As you move forward from this message, remember this principle. Clarity comes before confidence, and awareness comes before action. Do not measure your life by how fast you move, but by how aligned you are when you do. Alignment creates sustainability. It creates peace. It creates protection. If uncertainty tries to return, return to stillness. If pressure rises, return to awareness. You now know how to recognize the difference between urgency and instruction. You now know the value of pausing before stepping. This wisdom will serve you far beyond this moment. Archangel Michael's presence here is not fleeting. It is reassuring. He stands not only at the front of battles, but at the edges of decisions, guarding timing, shielding discernment, and preserving peace. You are not navigating alone. You are being guided, even when guidance feels quiet. Let this message settle. Do not rush away from it. Carry it with you as a reminder that divine movement does not need panic to succeed. It needs alignment, and alignment begins with awareness. Now receive this final blessing. Type "I move" with heaven in the comments if this resonates with you. Blessing code 901 is now activated. As this message settles and peace replaces pressure, I need to speak to you directly. When you support this work, you are not supporting a video. You are helping God's voice reach souls who are standing at their own crossroads without clarity. I hear the Spirit saying that what you release here becomes a seed, and seeds planted in obedience never return empty. This is my invitation to you, right now, to respond as awareness leads you, not later, not reluctantly, but decisively. Let your giving be a prophetic act that says, I choose alignment, and I help others find it too. Support this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal. The donation link is in the description and the PayPal QR code is on the screen. I declare blessing over every giver. May your steps be ordered, your timing protected, and your peace multiplied. Act now and seal this message with obedience.